know what is what.
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is Cult of the Living Dead.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Cult of the Living Dead. This is week 4 of our Halloween Bonanza. Welcome back. Those of you who have been joining us for all 4 weeks. First-time listeners, welcome. It's a little rundown. We are a cult movie podcast. We cover cult classics, B movies, and horror. None of us are academically trained in movie critique, but we all love movies. So just keep in mind, all these opinions are subjective and enjoy the ride. So welcome back, everyone. So it's week 4. Just a quick reminder, the first 3 weeks of October, we covered each of our favorite Halloween movies, horror movies. So for the Dale, myself, we covered The Thing. For Mr. Seiya, we covered Hereditary. And for Twan, we covered the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, yeah, I forgot to introduce you guys. So I'm your host, The Dale. Follow my two co-hosts, Mr. Seiya.
Hello.
And Twan.
What up?
All right. So for this week, we covered a foreign horror film. We wanted to see what the rest of the world had in horror. So we covered an Argentinian film, When Evil Lurks, a 2023 movie. So a pretty recent film. I'd never heard of it. I believe, Twan, you've seen it before this?
Yes.
Say, had you seen it?
No.
So this is a first time viewing for both of us. So we'll give you a little rundown of it. So it's directed by, I think it's Demian or Demian.
Demian?
Like Demian. It's like Damien, but there's an E instead of an A. Rugna. And he also did Terrified. I think that was another movie that was on our list. Not on.
Which one?
Terrified?
Oh, yeah. He also did Terrified?
Yeah, I think that might also
shit.
be another Argentinian film.
Fucking, I just said Spanish like a fucking...
Racist.
All Spanish are Mexican.
What? Yeah. That's
white people always classify every fucking Hispanic race as Mexican.
Oh yeah, here in the States, at least on the West Coast. I think in the East Coast, they think all of them are Cubans.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I don't see color though.
You see shades?
I mean, if you could tell how thick my glasses are, I don't see much of anything.
Oh yeah.
Damian Rugna also wrote the movie. He also wrote Terrified, The Last Gateway. The music was by Pablo Fu.
Pablo?
The cast is, we have Pedro, played by Ezequiel Rodriguez. He was also in Violeta, The Road, and La Flor. We have Jimmy, aka Jaime, played by Demian Salomon. He was in Punto Rojo. We have Mirta, played by Silvina Sabater. He was in Paulina. We have Ruiz, played by Luis Zibobrowski. He was in La Lola. And Santino, played by Marcelo Michuac. And he was in Fever Dream. This movie was a Spanish-American combo, so the distribution rights for the digital rights were made by Shudder, and the theater run was done by IFC Films.
Nice.
Which I thought was cool. I hadn't seen an IFC film in a minute. And this is I'm gonna say it outright. I've seen a few Shudder things, and man, Shudder be putting out some bangers, dude. Shudder has some.
Oh, yeah.
Just saw a VHS Beyond, which is also really good. Shudder's been on a roll these past couple of years.
Yeah.
They really hit their stride. So I guess we'll start with our first impressions. What do we expected going into this movie? I was pretty excited. I guess I'll start because Twan, you gave us the warning when we picked it last week. You're like, hey, they're gonna see some crazy shit in this movie, some shit that you probably like haven't seen, so don't watch it with the faint of heart. And like for the most part, I was like, okay, this isn't too crazy. But then there were a couple scenes where I was like, oh shit, this is pretty brutal. Especially like this movie does not shy away from like showing children being murdered in very gruesome ways. So you know, just keep that in mind when you watch this movie. It's pretty You don't really see a lot of that here in the States. So it's a little like, oh shit, like yeah, they're really pushing the envelope here.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Sam? It was also your first time watching it. What was your expectation going in?
I've been enjoying Shudder's run of like new horror movies, like Late Night with the Devil with David Dastmalchian. That was a banger. I think that coming into it with that mindset, I had already assumed that this was going to be a really good movie, and it was. It definitely hit that mark. Um, it was dark. Uh, yeah, I want to go more into it, but then we're going to talk about it, so I can't. But yeah, I had like a good idea of what it was going to be, and I'm just glad that it was what I thought it was going to be.
What about you, Twan? How was your viewing this time different from how you'd seen it before? Was there any change?
Um. Well, this time around, I was clear minded. Um. And so I was able to like keep up with the subtitles a lot better. So I caught a lot more dialogue that I didn't catch the first time around, which was cool. I mean, it only added more to the story and gave me a better understanding of the movie itself. When I first saw this movie, I was pretty taken back by how brutal it was. Second time around, still pretty fucking shocking. I was still like, oh fuck, during a couple scenes. But yeah, what drew me to this movie originally was the trailer. In the trailer, they show the scene, the goat scene, when he fires the gun and all the goats scatter and there's one goat left and it like walks up to the gun. I don't know. That scene was like, holy fuck, this movie's gonna be fucking crazy. And sure
Yeah.
enough, yeah, it was a wild ride. But yeah, second go around, still a fucking crazy movie.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We'll talk about it later, but I feel like I could see some of the influences from like other horror movies that I think we talked about last week when we were talking about Hereditary.
Mhm.
I saw a little Hereditary in this movie. A little bit. You can see how some of these like newer horror movies kind of I feel like crept in. I feel like there's a little bit of
Oh
It
yeah.
Follows in this movie too.
Hmm.
All right. So the movie starts off with Jaime and Pedro hearing gunshots coming from around their property. So they it seems to like they live on a farm or like a ranch or something. And I like how Pedro's all bomb. He like hears the gunshots and Jimmy's like, "Oh, what is it?" He's like, "It's a rifle." Or you think it's true? He's like, "No, it's a revolver. Two shots, silence, then another three. Definitely a revolver." And it's like, "Oh shit!" This
Yeah.
he's just all bomb. He's just like smoking a stove, just like analyzing like what's going on in the land. And then this is like, I just wrote this down because I thought it was super cool. Because they're like, "All right, we'll go check it out." They grab their rifles and their guns. They're like, "All right, we'll leave at dawn. We'll bring the dogs with us." And it starts at like a sky. Looks like they use like a drone or something to shoot the scene,
Yeah.
panning over them with their dogs and their land. And I don't know. I just thought it was just like a cool shot. I don't know what the shot was trying to say. I'm pretty sure it had some form of meaning, but I thought like, oh, this is like a really cool opening. Like these two brothers trying to figure it out, and then they get to the body, and we find this dude who's been like ripped in half. His fucking hands missing. He has like they find this weird like it looks like to me like an old like telescope, like an old
Yeah.
mechanical telescope, and they're all looking at it like, what the fuck is this? I like how Jimmy's like always wrong. He's like, was it a puma? And he's like, nah, this thing. The Pedro's like, this is a clean cut. He was cut in half. Like, there's no way this was like a puma. And they're like, oh, maybe Ruiz did it. And you're like, oh, who's this Ruiz guy? 'Cause it comes up a lot. And they're like, nah, I don't think it was Ruiz. Like, why would he just cut this dude in half? Like, that's kind of crazy. They find notes, right? And he's like, oh, they're going up to Elena's place.
Hmm.
And they're like, okay, cool. Like, well, let's go check it out. Let's go talk to her. And we get to Elena's place, and she immediately is like, oh yeah, I was waiting for what do they call him? Like a purifier or something like
A
that.
cleaner.
A
Cleaner.
cleaner.
Yeah.
A cleaner. And this cleaner was Russian because I guess all his notes were in Russian, which I thought was pretty interesting. There's one thing that I thought was super cool in this scene when Alina's talking about like, oh, a purifier was coming like to kill my son, and the Pedro and Jimmy are like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, my son Uriel, he's possessed. Like the cleaner was here to kill him. It's like, it's my fault. It got worse because I prayed to God. And Pedro's like, why'd you do that? Like, gods are dead. The church is dead. And you're like, oh shit. So like demons just kind of like run rampant in this world. Is it like end days now? Like what's going on? Like everyone just
Yeah.
knows like demons exist. The church doesn't exist anymore. The church failed in stopping the demon hordes. So like now you got these like cleaners, fucking vampire hunter dudes coming to take out the possessed. And we see Uriel, and he looks like to me, he looks like the fat vampire from Blade One.
Yeah. He
Doesn't
kind of
he?
looks like a
Yeah.
boomer from Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a boomer from Left 4 Dead. For those of you who played Left 4 Dead, he looks fucking gross, dude.
He looks all fucked up.
You can like smell him through the fucking TV.
Yeah.
Like
Everything
he's
felt
just
sticky.
all
Yeah, it
sticky.
was
You can see like
nasty.
his sheets are like soaked with like urine and feces. He's just
Yeah.
like got a glaze of sweat on him, like tumors growing out of his body. He looks pretty fucking gnarly.
He's like leaking pus at like different places in his
Uh,
body.
I know
That's it's pretty.
Yeah.
And I like how
it's gross.
he's asking Pedro. He's like, "Kill me, Pedro! Like, get it over with! Like, kill me!" And he's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna."
I'm not
He's
gonna
like,
do
"I'm
that.
not gonna do that. I'm not gonna kill you." And he's like, "Oh," they're like, "No, you can't kill him because." Is this where you find out where he's like, "Don't you don't use guns on the possessed?"
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody says it, and then yeah. But this is where they first say it for the first time.
Yeah, because he's like, "Put him out of your misery." Even Udio like wants like, "No, you don't use guns on the possessed because then like it makes it worse." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then they go in to talk to the cops. And the cops like are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, there's no possessed person. Like you're tripping. And they're like, no, the mayor needs to be known. And I guess Elena let him know. He's like, oh, I told somebody like over a year ago. So this dude's been possessed. He's been coming what do they call him? A rotten?
Mhm.
Rotten, yeah.
They're
For
like,
the
he's been
last
coming a
year.
rotten for a year. And they're like, and they finally sent a cleaner to go, or yeah, a cleaner to go do something about it. And he got fucking wrecked.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. And then we find out that the mayor knew about it and he didn't like do shit. What did you guys think about like this opening like 15 minutes of the movie? I think it did a really like cool job of like setting it up.
Yeah, I really like the world building that it does within this first intro scenes, and um it doesn't feel goofy or like it the way it introduces it. It kind of makes sense for what is going on, and the vibe kind of matches everything that's happening. So I really liked like the intro to the cleaners. You kind of get like a quick introduction of the church being dead. And then you kind of put together that basically everyone knows that demons are real at this point in time. And I loved all of that shit. That was really cool because it kind of immediately immerses you into the world and kind of preps you for what the fuck is about to happen. But I still, knowing that though, I still didn't expect what happened to happen. It's really crazy.
Yeah. No, they did a really good job. It like even though the dialogue is so quick and the conversations happen very fast, like you still understand like kind of what's going on. Like you said, they're able to build this world um in a matter of what 10 minutes, if that.
Mm-hmm.
Um and yeah, just the practical effects that they use in this movie throughout.
Very good.
But specifically in this scene with this guy, Uriel, like it's gross. Like it's fucking makes you feel nasty watching it. Like they did such a good job.
Yeah, they crushed it, dude. This first opening scene I thought was like so cool. And I like the whole concept of like it taking place, I don't know, after the world's moved on to like, oh yeah, demons do exist. And the church failed, so like there's no more church. So it's like, oh, that's
Hmm.
an interesting like concept. And like
Yeah.
the possessed and like how freaked out everyone is about like a rotten being there. You're like, oh shit, like it's like this whole like I don't know, like the whole concept was like I thought was very cool. It's a very interesting way of doing like demon possessions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because then so used to like exorcist, fucking spinning heads, throwing up, like their bones are like twisting and mangled and just looking all like fucked up spider people. And this
Yeah.
one's like, no, like when you get possessed, it's a little bit different here. It kills you from the inside. It's like a cancer.
Mhm.
And then like you're trying to
It's trying to be released.
it's trying to be released. Yeah, it wants you to kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was super, super interesting. And I think the way they build upon it, because I feel like their conversations only add to the lore, like later on as the movie, as we'll see. Especially when things really start ramping up, I think is like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So after the cops are useless, they're like, fuck it, let's go talk to Ruiz. Like, he's the Don, I guess. He's the like main landowner of this area. Cause they go to him and they call him Don Ruiz, and they tell him like, hey, there's a rotten at Elena's house. Like, it's Uriel, we gotta like do something about it. So Ruiz is like, this dude's like fucking got a short temper. He grabs his fucking double barrel shotgun and he like fucking gets in his truck and just bolts over there. And they're like, no, don't do it. You can't use gunpowder. Like, don't kill him. You're gonna only make it worse. And he does. He like at first he's like calm. He's not calm, cool, and collected, but he goes against his worst judgment and decides, I'm not gonna kill Uriel. He's like, all right, Pedro, Jimmy, we're gonna fucking throw this dude in the back of my truck. We're gonna drive like 300 kilometers in the opposite direction, and we're just gonna dump him. He's gonna be somebody else's problem. He's like, because if the government knew about this, the mayor knew about this, and didn't do nothing. He wants my fucking land to be worthless. He wants my land. He's like, I'm not letting that shit happen. Which I think was like an interesting concept between like this one really rich landowner like beefing it with the government. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why would they take so long to like send a cleaner? Because when the evil gets loose, seems like it's pretty fucked and like really hard to contain.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like end of days
Yeah,
once the shit gets released.
it's
Yeah,
like
Fucking-
real
that's
bad.
it.
Yeah, that was one thing. The risk to reward that the
It's
that the governor
crazy.
kind of like laid out was really bad. Like his decision making was terrible. I wouldn't trust that guy to make any
Fuck
type of
no.
decision.
Oh, short sighted as fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, this whole scene too. This is like we talked about how gross Uriel was in the last scene, but when they're trying to move him, you really see the like extent of how gross he is. Like,
Yeah.
so they're like, all right, fuck it, we're gonna wrap him up in this blanket and we're gonna throw him in the back of the pickup. And they're like, no, we can't. Like the blanket's soaked. He's gonna rip through it. And they're like, fuck it. Ruiz is like, stop being a little bitch about it and let's go. So like, fuck it, let's do it. So they're moving this dude, and you can just see like it's leaking, and he like tears through the blanket, and he just like plops, and pus starts like leaking everywhere. It's all bad,
And
dude.
the fucking sound design during like these scenes, it's just like sloshy, like
Fucking macaroni in a pot.
slimy. Yeah, that's what good pussy sounds like. But yeah, it was gross, man. This like I was glad when Udiel was no
Was
longer part of the
gone?
movie.
And they're I don't know how like good their plan was. I mean, as we later find out, it was like a horrible, fucking stupid ass plan. Like it's so dumb. You're not. So they did like everything wrong, I guess.
Yep.
They took all the wrong steps, but they drive him around. They finally get him in the truck, and they drive 200 kilometers. And they almost hit this kid in the bike, so they have to swerve all crazy. And
Where
then
did
they
that
drive
kid
another.
come from?
I don't know. I think he came from the local school.
Oh.
Yeah, dude,
Oh,
because that's the
yeah.
same kid that comes at the end on the bike.
Yep.
Because there's like a school down the road or whatever where they swerve, and they're like, oh shit, they barely miss him, and they drive another 100 kilometers and like, fuck it, let's dump him here. And when they open the truck bed, it's gone. Like, oh, he must have got out when we swerved. And they're like, well, let's go back and get him. And Ruiz is like, nah, fuck that, it's far enough. 200 kilometers is far enough. I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I like how they go home and everyone's just kind of like, when they show them afterwards, like Jimmy's like staring at a bullet, like contemplating, I don't know what, just being like, oh fuck, I think we fucked up.
Well, he found that bullet in the
Oh, he
back of
did?
the pickup truck.
Oh, that's right.
Because I think
That's right.
when they pulled him out, when they pulled Uriel out, he had like some bullets and like a book in his sheet. They
That's
like made sure
right.
to like focus on that. And then, yeah, he found the bullet in the back of the truck. I don't know what that signified or like what purpose that had. I don't know if those are the bullets from the gun that they heard in the beginning of the movie.
I think so.
But
Because he
yeah,
lines up more later on.
yeah.
And I think he lines him up after well, we'll get to it with his brother, with Udio's brother. But
Mhm.
I don't remember the book coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think it does.
Was
And
it
I
a
think
Bible or something?
probably,
I
I mean,
didn't
it
think it.
looked like it could have been.
Yeah, it was like an old leather bound book, huh?
And the reason behind Ruiz, Mr. Ruiz's like
Don Ruiz.
urgency to get that fucking rotten out was that he
Was-
didn't want his pregnant wife
Oh, that's
to get
right.
infected because
Oh,
his
because
wife is
doesn't
pregnant.
and doesn't that's right. Doesn't Udio talk shit to him? He's like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna get
he's
your
like,
fucking pregnant
yup.
wife.
He's like, kill me so I can take your unborn child or something like that.
That's right. That's right. I like how he's taunting him, dude. He's
Taunting
like,
everyone.
yeah, he is fucked.
Yeah.
And let me see fucking I don't know why I haven't smoked since 2016. Like consistently I've had a cigarette here or there since then. But
Mhm.
man, those stogies that Pedro was smoking on, I was like, damn, that seems like I'm on a stoke now. That seems like
Dude,
some
right?
like good fresh looking
It
tobacco,
looks
bro.
so
Like
smooth.
I was like, damn.
I could use one of those.
Pedro's always contemplating.
He
He
Just
is.
is.
taking a batch, just ripping his cigarette like fuck.
Yeah. He's the thinker.
I thought this was interesting because when they show to go to Ruiz, he's talking to his wife and they're eating dinner in their nice ass house, and there's like a crazy thunderstorm going on outside.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh shit, the goats. I think maybe they got to bring them inside or whatever. But then when they get outside, the thunderstorm seems to have stopped. It's like bright ass daylight.
I think it was time had passed. I think the thunderstorm was just during the night.
Is that probably what it was? Because this is the scene you mentioned in the beginning, which is crazy. Like the wife starts screaming and she's like that goat. She's like pointing at this one goat, and this goat's just like eyeballing him, like, what the fuck? What's up? What you gonna do? And Ruiz is like, get out of the way, and he comes with his shotgun, and his wife is screaming at him. She's like, no, not with gunpowder. And she pulls an axe out of the tree. He's like, you can't use that, use this. And he shoots in the air, and all the other goats flee. And there's just one goat left that is just staring at him. And he has the barrel of his shotgun over the fence pointed at the goat. And the goat just like creepily walks up to it and puts its like forehead up against the barrel, like, I fucking dare you to shoot me.
Dude, such a crazy scene.
That shit was wild. I like how they stuck with the theme too. I don't know what it is that why goats are like always like tied to like
Demons.
Well,
demons and devil worship.
Baphomet.
Is it Baphomet?
Baphomet's the goat.
Some pagan
They
shit,
always
huh?
have like hooves. Yeah.
Probably from old forest people when Christianity started conquering paganism. They probably saw goats as evil.
The association between the devil and goats comes from various sources.
Okay,
The
you just have
goat
it pulled up.
is a
Hell yeah,
prominent
dude.
symbol to Satanism, partly due to its occult ties and the goat-like form of the deity Baphomet. In
There it
Christian and
is.
Jewish scriptures, Satan is indirectly associated with goats. The goat-like features attributed to the devil are derived from the Greek pastoral deity Pan, who is half
Paganism.
man, half goat.
I think I know more about demons than I do about fucking God.
Hell yeah.
I think that's a lot of people. I think it's the whole thing about God. Like he's a little mysterious,
He is really spooky.
True.
a little mischievous boy or girl.
Them.
Them, they, them.
Just the ultimate being.
Yep. So you saw
Or
that
just like
fight that
Ken
he had.
doll.
He's like all those crazy animals. And was it in fucking that South Park where Jesus looks all crazy? He's like part octopus and like part fucking.
No, in South Park, Jesus just looks like Jesus.
Yeah, doesn't he? He always looks like
He's just like a
Jesus.
chill.
He looks like a
Jesus.
normal dude.
What am I thinking
Yeah.
of? Maybe it was
I don't
Family
know,
Guy.
dude.
It was one of those cartoons.
Yeah. That's funny.
Is that I forget what happens that sets Ruiz off. his wife yell something or the goat does something, right? And he just fucking blasts its fucking brains.
He gets startled
I think
somehow.
he just gets the spookies and he can't handle it.
And he fucking just shoots the goat, and his wife just immediately just fucking axes him like a second after he shoots the goat. He just axes him on the side of the head, just straight up fucking murders him, and then turns the axe on herself and just starts fucking smashing herself in the face. And I like how like over time it gets slower and slower, and then she just like fucking falls over and dies with this big ash. Dude, once this scene happened, I remember watching like shoots it, axe to the face, like, and then her hitting herself all within like 3 seconds. I was like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit. Oh, this is what I was talking about. This fucking movie just when it starts, it just pops off like immediately.
Yeah.
It's rare I watch a movie nowadays that makes me like audibly surprised.
Mhm.
And this movie made me like shout multiple times of because I was so like surprised. Like I didn't expect to happen. I didn't expect what was happening to happen. So it was like I was watching it and then that happened and I'm like, oh, and then
Dude.
like what the fuck? How did what? Yeah, this it does a good job at just kind of surprising you at different points in time.
I definitely had an oh shit moment. Like, oh shit. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And started like scrambling down notes. Like, this sounds fucking wild.
Nice.
I thought this scene was peak horror. And this is where I kind of got the like It Follows vibes. Because like it was in the ghost, immediately went to the wife, and then she killed the husband and then killed herself. Like I was like, damn, that's like super quick possession. Like fucking instant.
Yeah.
When
I
she
like
warned him. And she
the-
was pregnant, which is fucking crazy. You don't see a lot of like pregnant women like killing themselves on screen here in the States.
yeah.
True.
It's like the world's most brutal abortion ever.
Argentina.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about us here in the us, but
Stay
show
away
us
from
that
pregnant
shit.
ladies.
Show us that shit. Like when it like the new movie that just came out, Speak No Evil, apparently they changed the ending like completely because the original was too brutal or like not fit for American audiences.
Isn't that
Interesting.
interesting? But we have like school shootings all the time.
Dude,
Sorry, not to be
right?
political.
No, I mean
Pull us out, Dale.
that
Pull us out.
I don't think that's political. That's fucking true.
That's
What
a
the
hot
fuck?
topic though, bro. People be defending
hot
gun
topic.
rights over
I like
children
shopping at Hot
rights.
Topic.
And we have all this violence in the world, but our movies
I
aren't like
always
that.
thought
Well, they
True.
are, but they're not.
it could be that a lot of these places have had like in more recent memory, like actual like brutal like regime takeovers and civil wars and all this like crazy shit. So their reality is a little bit more hardcore than the American reality. Like, yeah, we've had wars, but they've never ever since the Civil War, every other fight we've had, every like horrible thing that we've done or we've seen has all been soldiers over there. Like they're experiencing it. But here on the home front, like, yeah, we have serial killers and yeah, we have school shootings. But like it's not really the American public isn't seeing like all these dead child bodies like littered in a fucking classroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not part of our visual reality the same way I feel like it is in other countries. So maybe
True.
that's why they have a different like a different level of like I don't know, like they have a tougher skin because they've had to deal with tougher shit.
Yeah,
I
Maybe.
can see that.
maybe.
But to bring us back, so then so fucking Ruiz gets fucking murdered by his wife. She fucking kills herself. Fucking animal cruelty to the goat. And the brother of Uriel, I don't know how he finds out, but he goes to Pedro and Jimmy and he's like, Ruiz is dead. Can I stay here? Like, I don't know where my mom is. She's gone. Like, I don't want to be in that house by myself. And Jimmy's like, "What do you mean Ruizy's dead? How do you know he's dead?" And he's like, "Oh, I saw his dead body, his wife too." And then Jimmy's like, "Nah, fuck that, Pedro. We can't let him stay here." Pedro's like, "You could stay in the horse barn. So you'll find something like warm in there, but like, don't you gotta leave by the morning." And he's like, "All right, cool." And then Jimmy's like, "Well, he's got a pistol, dude." He's like, "Well, give me your gun." He's like, "Do you have a gun?" He's like, "I got a 38." He's like, "Give me your gun." And this is where Jimmy gets the rest of the bullets, and they match the single bullet that he found.
Oh yeah,
So I
yeah.
think Jimmy's starting to think like, "Oh, is this the dude who shot at the cleaner?" Because it seems like Jimmy's putting the puzzle together a lot quicker than Pedro is.
Yeah.
Pedro's like the leader, and like he's pretty calm, cool. Well, Jimmy's actually pretty calm, cool, and collected too.
Yeah, I think Pedro just he has like a family and
Yeah,
like that, obviously added to his judgment. Whereas Jimmy didn't really have he only had Pedro. Yeah, he had his nieces and his nephews, but like he was thinking about like what's happening in front of him, you know?
yeah, he was definitely like, how are we gonna get out of this? Where Pedro was like, I gotta get my family out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had other responsibilities. So then they're like, all right, fuck this. We're leaving in the morning. We're leaving town. He's like, what about our valuables? He's like, you don't bring shit. So this is like another kind of tidbit. Like when you're trying to escape evil, you leave everything behind, even their clothes. Like they burn them later, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, we're gonna go into town and we're gonna go pick up my kids. So they go to his wife's house, really nice house. Another episode of a house I'll never own.
You
Leo
you
is
might be able to though on
maybe
your
in
American
Argentina, huh?
salary in Argentina. Yeah.
So he gets to his wife's house and she's like fucking freaking out because I guess there's a fucking restraining order against Pedro. Like apparently Pedro's crazy. We later find out that Pedro murdered somebody and like he left their lives. He was gone for like 4 or 5 years. And he's like, he's telling Leo and his wife, he's like, get the kids, pack up all your shit, which I thought was actually kind of cool of him. He's like, bring the kids. He's like, it's not about me. I don't give a fuck. The four of us, all five of us, get your daughter, get my two sons, and you two get in your car. Let's get the fuck out of here. You gotta listen to me. I'm not here to start bullshit. I'm trying to get all of us to leave town. Like, we need to leave now. And he's like, there's a fucking rotten. We tried to get rid of it. It didn't work. It killed Ruiz. Like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And she's like, his wife's like, nah, like, you're fucking tripping. Like, get the fuck out. You're crazy. You're a fucking crazy person. Why do you show up now? And I fucked up by giving you visitation rights. You're trying to ruin my life because I'm happy. And all of this is going down. Like his son Santiago comes down, or Santi, and he's all talking to him. He's like, "Oh, Dad, he's gonna go pack a bag, wake up your brother. We're gonna leave." All while his little sister is like playing Ring Around the Rosie with their dog. I didn't look up what type of dog it was. It was a beautiful dog.
It was some
It was
type of
kind of
big dog.
Big,
kind of like
big brown dog.
kind of look like a mastiff, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah. Like a
And
mastiff mix.
the fucking dog is being chill, normal dog, and then you just see the scene where it just fucking snaps on the daughter Vicky, like right on the neck, and you just hear the fucking crunch. And he's like dragging her around and just like ragdolling her fucking dead body. And Santi's just staring at this like, what the fuck? He's like tripping the fuck out. He finally goes and like tells the parents, and they're like, what happened? He's like, oh, the dog got Vicky. And when they see that, they look under the table. They see the dog with Vicky, like her dead body, just filling with it in his mouth. And it just bolts out the door, like just takes off. This whole scene was fucking nuts, dude. It
Yeah.
was fucking wild. I mean, I did not expect that. Like, this is where like it kind of really clicked for me. And I was like, oh, I see why you said don't watch this with the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Like watching
Yeah.
a little girl, like she's like a 5, 6 year old
Yeah.
kid,
She's tiny.
just
Yeah.
getting absolutely murdered by some dog was fucking crazy.
They took what M. Night Shyamalan did with Signs and just let it play out. I don't know if you guys remember the scene when she's trying to push the bowl of water to Bo, the dog, and then it
Mhm.
like nips at her almost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, imagine that, but like you see everything. I think that's
Yeah.
what makes it so shocking is like we're literally watching a little girl get mauled by a dog.
And like you hear it too, like even the sound effects, like you hear that crunch when it like breaks her neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was another audible like scream moment that happened for me because it happened so fast and there's no. I mean, you said the dog was hella chill. The only weird thing that happens is the dog smells the clothes at like right before they burn.
Yeah.
And so the dog is just kind of standing there, just like really quiet, almost like the dog from the thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just like immediately pops off, but you get like no warning whatsoever. And it is so rare that like you see violence against kids like that. I mean, I
The
guess
violence against
there's
kids is brutal in this movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's other movies that do it, but this one is just
Ruka
kind of
fucking hates children.
yeah, this one's really this one was intense.
I mean, I kind of had a feeling, right? So I was a little bit more prepared because during the argument, it kept switching to Vicky like playing with the dog. And then
Yeah.
after like the second time it did that, I'm like, is the dog gonna kill the little girl? Like, why does it keep showing me the dog and her playing? And
Mhm.
then like it happens, and I was like, oh shit, like, oh dude, what the fuck? Like, oh, that was I mean, it was a crazy scene. It was dope. It was creative, and I think um I feel like it further expands on the like lore of like the demon possession thing. I don't
Yeah.
remember if it's here or is it when they pick up the mom was where they talk about how the demons first it makes animals crazy and then it makes the dead crazy. Like
It's a mom.
it's the mom that says that. So it's like right after this scene.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it just escalates how this next scene's crazy. So Leo, her dad, because Vicky's the boy's like half sister. So the boys there's Hyde
Hi-
and
Yair,
Yair and Santi are Pedro's kids. Yair is autistic, so Santi
nonverbal autistic.
nonverbal. He's like pretty low functioning autistic. He can't really walk. Like they have to carry him and stuff. So they go and they get him. While Leo takes off, he gets his like shotgun and he takes off to go find his daughter. And all while Pedro's like yelling at him, like, "Don't use a gun! Don't use a gun! Don't use a gun!" And he's like, "Shut the fuck up, Pedro! Like, come help me find my daughter. This fucking dog took my daughter." And Pedro's like, "Nah, fuck that, dude." Like, once he takes off with his gun, he like looks at him. He's like, "Well, that's a dead man walking." And he just books to find his kids. And he's like, "Yo, where's the keys?" He gets Yair. He's like, "Where's the keys?" And he's like, "I'm gonna get you ice cream. I just need to know where the keys are." And he like finally points to it. They get in their old car and they take off. And while they're taking off, you hear the mom being like, "Oh my god, Vicky, you're okay." And I'm like, "What the fuck? That girl is very much dead. That girl should not be back." And you see her like hugging her, and then she whispers like in her ear, like, "Oh, daddy's gonna kill you." Because
Yeah.
right before this, we see that Leo caught up to the dog and he kills the dog. He shoots it in the head. And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, daddy loves you, and he's gonna come right home right now." And then splat. And you're like, that's kind of weird. So they're driving away. While they're driving away, Vicky's still hugging her mom, and she sees Pedro with the boys, and she has like a like I can't believe this is happening type of face. And while they're driving away, Leo comes through fucking speeding, boosting in his truck, and just smashes into her into the fucking wall, dude. Holy! And then you see Vicky's like just like standing on the side, dancing around, like having a good old time. This scene, I was like, holy shit. Because he Leo comes to and he looks to the right and he sees Vicky dancing while he's like, I guess having his last breaths or whatever. All
Mhm.
while he fucking smashed his wife into their house. That shit, this like it just kept building, dude. It just kept elevating.
Yeah, it's just one of those like extremely chaotic scenes where you have everyone all the adults are yelling, there's panic, Pedro's freaking the fuck out, and then the dog scene happens. So, everyone's running after Vicky trying to find her. Meanwhile, Pedro is trying to like gather his family. It just builds upon itself so much and it's so chaotic. I fucking loved it.
I agree. I think this was the best scenes, like the best sequence of events in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like after this scene, um, I was at like holy shit, this might be my first A+ movie.
Mm,
Like this, I'm like, this is really good. I could see why this movie had like really good scores because like the way it builds upon itself and like the way it's in elevating on top of like the world building and how all this happening just kind of makes sense was like so fucking crazy to me.
yeah.
I also like how fast it happens too. Like it's just like it spreads so quickly in this world. And I thought that was really dope.
It reminds me of like when you're watching a zombie movie and it shows like how chaotic it gets right when the infection starts like taking hold of a city and you
Hmm.
see like the main cast of characters like think of like the first episode of The Last of Us where they're trying to get out of the town and if you're looking at the periphery of the scene and you see like a fucking cop car is just like on fire and smashes into a building while another car is driving with like a bunch of zombies holding on to it, it like feels like that level of like holy shit, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Because you're seeing like this evil, I guess, is starting to spread throughout the city, and it's just it's so cool that this idea that like it like the demons can possess people like that and like could just possess a whole town is guessing what they're trying to get at, like the rotten spreads throughout the whole town. I was like, oh, this is cool. I've never. This is a very cool, interesting, unique concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How the demon is just able to jump from person to person like so quick and spread so fast. Like, it's almost like a blink of an eye. And if you really think about it, this scene in the movie took up what 10 minutes, if
Mm-hmm.
that, throughout the film, and so much happens in it, and
Yeah.
it's just like they turned it up to 11 during this scene.
Have you guys played Plague Incorporated?
Uh,
It's like
I
a
played
strategy game.
the board. I have the board game.
I it's a strategy game where you basically you're like a virus and your goal is to take over the world.
Oh
I
damn.
would like a DLC where the virus is like demon,
That'd be
and so
cool.
you can just like infect
Got to get a
portions
mod
of the
going.
world with demon. Yeah, I think
Nice.
that'd be really cool because they have a zombie one. So
Oh, that's cool.
Oh nice.
yeah.
This scene is like chef's kiss. Very good.
Hmm.
Very insane. And then so we get our first bit of exposition. Oh, and this is something I just realized right now, which I think is actually kind of interesting because when Pedro gets dropped off, Jimmy drives off to go pick up the mom, and Pedro comes back, meets him, and picks him up, and he gets them both a fresh set of clothes. So I think Jimmy probably changes at his mom's, or Pedro gets a fresh set from Leo, and then they burn his clothes. But Jimmy also ditches their truck, so they just take
Oh
his
yeah.
ex-wife's car because his truck is potentially also infected because it's from their home, which was like within the vicinity, which I thought was pretty interesting. So then they pick up the mom. How the mom's all like, "Oh, where'd you get this car from?" Like, "Oh, isn't the kids supposed to be in school?" Like, "Oh, so and so let you have the kids for the weekend." Like, that's sweet. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Wait, shouldn't they be in school? Wait, why do you have this car?" And he's like, "Mom, get in, I'll explain." And he's
She's like, "Are
telling,
we going to a wake?"
"Oh yeah." She's like, "Oh, don't tell me." Yeah, she's like, This is a funeral? It's gonna suck." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Nah, it's even worse than that, Mom. There's a possessed, and we gotta go." And she's like, "Oh, there's a possessed, and this is her." Santi is the role of us, the audience, because he starts asking all the questions that we have. And one thing I forgot to mention, uh, Yair sees his mom get murdered by Leo, and every time they flick back to Yair, he's kind of like fucked up. You can see he's like acting a little weird,
Yeah.
like his mind's like racing. I don't know. They explain it later, which I think is pretty cool. And she explains the 7 rules to like stopping or avoiding not getting possessed. So the 7 rules are: you don't use electricity. Well, we got that rule from earlier from Uriel's brother because he tells him that he doesn't use electricity, that in their home they didn't have electricity. Uh don't stay too close to animals. We learned that from the dog. Don't have anything that was close to them. So I guess that's like your clothes, your car,
Yeah.
anything. You can't hurt them. Never name it by its name. And then that's how they're like, well, what's its name? And then she's like, oh, Lucifer, Baphomet,
As
uh,
real.
Azrael, the devil. Like she says all the names for the devil, basically. And everyone's like, "Shut the fuck up, Mom! Why are you saying all this shit?"
Literally just naming all the fucking names.
Right?
And she's like, "It's cool. I ain't tripping." That's like such a like a mom thing to do. Like you're overreacting. Your sons obviously look like they're freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just saw some shit. You're tripping. No guns. We've learned that lesson twice already. And the last lesson, we don't get, and the last rule we don't get till later on in the movie. So we'll save it till then.
Yeah, there's a little piece of dialogue when Jimmy's like, "Oh, the seventh rule should be don't forget the rules,"
Yeah,
because she doesn't remember.
he doesn't remember all the rules. That's right. And then, that's right. His wife's name is Sabrina. Because then, they pull up to a gas station because he promised Yair apple flavored ice cream, which I think is pretty interesting because apple is not a big flavor here in the States.
It's not
But that sounds good.
manzana.
Sabrina calls Pedro and he's like, "What the fuck?" She calls the mom because none of them have their phone.
Is Twan frozen for you?
No, Twan's chilling.
Oh, he looks frozen on my screen.
Oh,
Say
crazy.
something, Twan.
Something.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
I just want to make sure he's still getting picked up, right? Like by the recording.
Yeah, he's still getting picked up, but we'll see when the audio comes because there'll be times where like and it's like, "Oh shit, what happened there?" I was like, "Oh, I guess it must have been like a delay in the
Yeah.
Podcast
recording."
got possessed.
Yeah.
We've been doing too many spooky movies.
You did that. You did that really good too.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then fucking Sabrina calls and she's like, "You took my kids. I'm gonna fucking find you. Those are my kids." And he's like, "You're not real. You're dead. I saw you die." And I like how Jimmy was asking, he's like, "What happened to Sabrina, dude? Like, where is she?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't know what happened to her." But I think it was interesting. I don't know why Pedro didn't tell him, like, I saw her get fucking smashed by a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He eventually tells him, but yeah, she's like, "I'm gonna fucking find your ass, dude. I know where you're going." And he's like, "Fuck that." And he like breaks the phone. He's like, "Nah, we ain't doing this shit." And
She mentions like she starts bringing up the past, taunting him again.
That's
She's
right.
like, "I cheated on you. I slept with everyone. Like, you're a piece of shit." Like,
that's right.
just really getting him riled up.
He's like, "Your dick's tiny."
You only last 30 seconds.
I faked it every time we had sex.
Oh
Damn.
no. That hurt. That hurts.
Poor Pedro. I like how he looks like so much older than Jimmy too.
Yeah, it's the beard.
Yeah.
But then Jimmy's like, "All right." He's like, "I know where we can go. I got a homegirl. She lives in between us and the city." And Pedro's like, "No, fuck that. We're going from here straight to the city." He's like, "Dude, we're tired. We need a rest. Like, we should stay." She's like, "Off the grid. Like, it'll be chill. Like, don't worry about it." And he's like, "All right, fine." They convince him. And he's like, "Yeah, I like how he's freaking out." He's like, "We need to get Yair his ice cream." Because he's like, "I promised him the ice cream." And like, he just keeps like, I guess, yelling. Like, he's just making
Yeah.
noises. Like, he's upset that he hasn't got his ice cream yet in the back seat. So they're like, "Nah, we gotta get the ice cream, blah blah blah." He's like, "All right, well, let me see. Maybe she'll have some," which she does, which is kind of random.
There's a couple things that Yair says. And the only reason why I caught it was because of the subtitles, but he repeats the word possessed a couple
That's
times, and then
right.
he repeats the word Azrael a couple times. I don't know if by this point, it's in him.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think the second he sees his mom die, it like transfers to him.
Hmm.
But yeah, maybe because he's saying it to himself, and that's like speeding up the possession.
Yeah.
I think Yair's possession is the most interesting of the bunch.
Yeah.
We'll get to it right now when they meet Mirta. At first I was like, is it Marta? But no, it's Mirta.
Mirta.
Mirta. So she knows Jimmy. I guess she's like Jimmy's old crush because Pedro's kind of poking fun. He's like, "Oh, this is a famous Mirta, the one he used to talk about all the time."
Yeah.
So I expected her to look like Jimmy, but she looks significantly older than Jimmy. So Jimmy likes them. He likes them. He likes
Cougars.
He likes his girls a little bit older. Oh, fucking Jimmy. And then so they meet Mirta. She's kind of like, she immediately looks like yeah, and she's like, is that too possessed? He's like, nah, he's just autistic. And she's like, no, yeah, you mentioned that. I got that, but I don't know, dude. He looks a little suspect. And he's like, nah,
Like,
nah.
Nah, he's just autistic.
she just immediately calls it out. Like, no, there's like no preface. She's like, he's possessed, right? And everyone's like, nah, he's autistic. She's like, no,
Uh,
I
he's
don't know.
actually possessed.
I know an autistic guy looks like. This guy looks a little different. He's not he's on a different spectrum right now.
Oh fuck.
Good one.
But and so Mirta's like, all right, well, you can come in. She has apple ice cream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
she
just
does.
has everything there.
It's kind of random too. And the container is like a foam container. I don't know. I thought their ice cream container was weird. So
Yeah.
like not
It's
important
like
at all.
styrofoam.
Yeah, but I was like,
Yeah.
who thought they store ice cream in styrofoam in Argentina? That's crazy.
Well,
Check it out.
she didn't have electricity, so I don't know if that had anything to do
Oh,
with it.
that's
Maybe it's like
right.
dry ice. And then,
Oh, that could be it. That's actually a
Mhm.
good point. I didn't think about that. That's right, because she mentioned she doesn't have electricity. She's like, well, I don't got
Yeah.
electricity here. Her house is like demon proof almost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not really, but it's like demon prevention.
yeah,
She's I'll wait for you to explain.
Yeah, it comes up. It becomes
Yeah.
so random and like, how lucky is that?
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, fuck it. But Yair doesn't want to leave the car. So the
Yeah.
grandma's like, it's cool. I'll stay with them for a bit. So she's staying with them, like kind of calm him down. And Pedro's like, all right, we'll take shifts, mom. You go sleep inside. I'll stay with him. Because Yair's like, fuck that. I'm not leaving this fucking room. And the grandma's like, okay, I want to go. And she sleeps with Santi, but Santi does have something electrical. He brings like his, like, it's like a kid's toy. It's like a star lamp, it looks like. So it's probably running on batteries or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember
that's
his
right.
dad tells him, like, pack some clothes and pack some toys.
Mhm.
So I think that's the toy he brought. I saw that. I'm like, oh no, he's got electricity. No. And then fucking Sabrina shows up. And I thought this was cool because the mom mentions, as we said earlier, that first it possesses the minds of animals and it could also make the dead go crazy. So I was like, oh, so did like the demon has like necromancy powers? It brought the mom back to life. Like that's fucking crazy because she looks all fucked up.
Yeah,
Not as
she
fucked
looks
up
like she
as
got hit by a car.
you think. I thought she would look more fucked up getting hit that hard, but like, oh, the whole right side of her body is absolutely fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And this is one thing I find interesting because it happens again later, is that like the demon, kind of like Hereditary, plays games. So like it's there for Santi and could very have easily killed the grandmother, but
Mhm.
doesn't. It's just like creepy because like the grandma like goes and tells Jimmy like there's something going on. Sabrina's in the room and she has Santi. That's when Jimmy calls Pedro and he goes up to confront her. And like it's there where she's like kind of talking shit, like, I told you I'd find him. I told you I'd come for my babies. They're safer with me. And then we see her like that's when we see her come into the light and she looks all fucked up. And like she's holding Santi and like Santi's like, oh mom, blah blah blah. He's like unaware that his mom's like possessed and all crazy. So they go to try and get him, and she just jumps off the second story of the building and just like disappears. She's all fast as fuck.
Human skills.
And then this is
Yeah.
where this is where they get their game plan. Where Mirta is like, all right, we'll go find them. Jimmy, you go search for the boy. Pedro, what happened? Like, why is this happening? And that's when he tells her, like, oh, we dumped a demon. We dumped a rotten like away from the town. She's like, why the fuck did you do that? That's
Yeah.
stupid. That you made things way worse by doing that. And he's like, well, I know where it is, so we're gonna go find it. So Mirta's like, all right, and she brings out her fucking demon slaying case. And she's like, all right, so me and my late husband, he was a shepherd and we started a church, but we didn't really believe in God. We were just trying to take people's money. And then the demons happened and we basically failed because they're not real. And churches fell. Not the cleaners, the cobras. The cobras came
Cobras.
out and they taught us how to cleanse the world of demons. They're monks or whatever. And she's like, so the past 12 years I've been fighting demons. But then they started ambushing us and they murdered my husband. So I had to retire. And she says a line that I wrote down that I thought was super cool. She says to escape a demon, you need to drop everything and move away to a place that you know doesn't exist. And I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
like, that's fucking badass.
I, I like that you find out that she's basically like Constantine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
pretty much.
and so like that's why her whole house is like demon proof in a way. And then she's just all bomb, like she's just this really beast demon hunter old lady
Yeah.
who's who just randomly moved into this town
And
just by chance.
right. And she mentioned something. She says like, "Oh, I don't know if this is the demons coming back specifically for me." Like,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like they've been after me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, her little backstory.
Her
Again,
backstory was
it
sweet.
was so short, but like we learned so much about her
Yeah.
and her past. And it's like just more of that world building.
She tells him like some people are immune to demon possession. So like
Mhm.
she's immune. She's like, I can't be possessed, but I can be like manipulated.
Mhm.
So that means like she can be tricked by a demon, but a demon can't go inside her. So it's like, okay, some people can't be possessed. Like that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
She writes down a bunch of cool shit. Like she talks about how like the way a demon possesses you is because it knows your deepest, darkest fears. Like it knows more about what you're afraid of than you are, and that's how it gets a hold of you. And I was
Yeah.
like, she just like expo in like 5 minutes, just like explains everything about the way the demon works and like
Mhm.
this whole demon world.
And
Oh,
she
and
also
she
drops the seventh rule.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, that's right. Rule
Don't
number
be afraid
7.
of dying.
Yep. Don't be afraid of dying.
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
That's
But
true.
those demon ways are like seem like a bad way to go though.
Yeah. Definitely like a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 death.
And then so the game plan is all right. Oh, this is one thing I thought was cool too. So when they're going to split up, and he tells him like, all right, we don't know. He's like, Jimmy, don't use lights, which I think is interesting. Like, I wonder if the lights played a part. I mean, I'm guessing it did in her being able to get to Santi because he had that toy.
Yeah.
Because she gets into his room like immediately, like no
Mhm.
problem. So I wonder if he didn't have the lights, it would have been harder. Like, how did she find him?
Well, I thought that she found him because he was scared of dying and of losing his kids, and so that's how the demon was able to locate.
Oh, maybe. Interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah, they just broke every single rule like in
Hmm.
this movie.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah,
They're pretty bad at it.
yeah.
I thought it was cool though how when they're driving, Mirta sees is like, oh, the lights are all off on the town. They
Yeah.
put in place the demon protocol. I was
Mhm.
like, damn, there's like a whole protocol for you. Just cut power to a hotel, like whole town. Like I imagine being in that. I would like to see a movie of like what happened in that town, right?
Dude, right?
Wouldn't that
The
have
That
been
was what I was
sick?
gonna say too. Like after, like I would love to see more of this, like an expansion of the world. Either like what happened on day zero, or like how this affects other places in like big scale. I think that'd be really cool. So like,
You could make a TV series out of this. It'd be fucking sweet.
yeah.
so the director who the guy that wrote this, he also wrote that movie Terrified. I
Mhm.
don't know if we're gonna add that to our wheel or if
I
you
did.
guys are just okay. But I feel like Terrified is kind of like what's happening in the town.
That's cool.
Okay.
It now that we're like talking about it, that movie kind of gives off that feeling. Like it's a whole town being attacked by a entity.
A demonio.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Nice.
And then this is arguably, I think, the most fucked up part of the whole movie, like visual. So when they split up, so Jimmy completes his mission first, and he finds Sabrina, and by this point, it's like it's too late. And I do love this, like the trust that Pedro has in his brother, because Pedro's freaking out, right? He's like, I need to find my son, and Jimmy's like, Pedro, I will find him. Like, don't worry about it. You got to go stop this. And
Yeah.
he's like, all right, you're right. I like he completely trusts Jimmy to get the job done, which I thought was pretty interesting because he's been pretty focused on getting his family out, and at this point he like allows himself to like not be afraid that Santi's gonna be dead. Oh, he's very much dead. So his mom is just eating his, like, she's holding him like you would hold, like, I don't know, like a baby.
Yeah, like a child, like a tired child.
Mhm.
And she's just fucking fisting his brains, just fucking eating them, just handfuls of brains. There's just a big old hole. And you see her put her hand in there, taking out brains, eating it.
Brains
Like the
blotting on the fucking
like
floor,
it's
Sloshing.
fucking
washing.
it's a crazy
Yeah.
it's a
This was
crazy
another
visual.
audible, like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. This movie, man. This movie goes places, and they really hate kids.
They
You hate
do. I mean, well, there's a line right after it where they we'll get to it after this scene, which I think double like just solidifies this statement.
Yeah.
But like this scene was fucking fucked. And Jimmy like sees this and he's just like, fuck this bitch. And he just fucking rams into her into like a tree. Like, I mean, I give it to him because like that'll fuck you up too. You
Yeah.
can't just drive full speed into a fucking tree like that and like leave unscathed. Like you're gonna get fucked up. But he smashes into her and he smashes her into a tree and I don't know if she died. I mean, I guess we assume that he defeats her because it is kind of moving its head through the like windshield, all fucked up. But
And she talks too. She
she
tells
does
him
talk.
things. Yeah. Forgot what she says exactly. But she's like talking to him.
I wonder if Jimmy's immune
Hmm.
or he's just
Mm,
not scared this entire time. Like
I
he's
think
just
I
like,
don't think he's scared to die.
Yeah, I mean, he is like trying to put the puzzle together the whole time. He's pretty collective.
because
Mhm.
we'll find out. Like he does this, and as we'll see with Yair later, like he's hanging out with Yair the whole time until his brother gets back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Like we find out Yair is possessed. This is like actually a pretty crucial part because Mirta
Yeah.
goes up to him before they leave on their mission, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he's possessed," and he's like, "I already told you, dude. He's autistic." And she's like, "Nah, bro." And she's like, "Look at his hands." And they open the door, and his hands and feet are like all fucked up.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I saw this before, and I lived in the city. Demons will like possess autistic people, but because they're autistic, the demons in limbo, it takes them a little while to figure out how their brain works. So the demon is trapped for the moment. So
Yeah.
right now, he's not really a big concern because his autism is kind of helping us out, which I thought was like an interesting idea. Because like
Yeah.
it takes over your mind, but because an autistic person's mind is different than someone who doesn't have autism, it like the demon doesn't really fucking know what to do. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Like
It
a
was
natural line of defense.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool.
I want to
Um,
see possessed Down syndrome possession next.
that'd be kind of crazy. But but then after Jimmy kills Sabrina, then we see Yair that gets fully possessed, and he walks into the house with the grandma, and he's like acting regular. He's talking normal. He's walking. He's like, "What's up, grandma?" He's like, "I'm cold and I'm hungry." And then he grabs
Blanket.
a
Ooh.
lambskin blanket and
Yeah.
puts it over him. I guess this is supposed to realize that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing the whole time.
That was pretty cool. That's a nice little touch that
And then
they added.
the grandma looks fucking terrified, dude, because she's like, "Holy shit, this dude should not be talking full sentences. He should not be walking around like this." She's like, "God damn!" And she's the only one at the house. Like, damn. She's
Yeah.
like, she has that like, "Well, I'm fucked."
And
Kind
she's
of
like
like
fiddling with her necklace, like they make it known, like to show us
her
her
crucifix
necklace.
necklace. And then this is where we double down. So these two scenes happen, and they're kind of out of the movie up until the end. And now from this point on, we just focus on Pedro and Mitra, and they're like, "Oh, they find the spot where the body would have fallen out, but it's not there." And they're like, "Oh, look, there's a school down the street." And she says, "Evil is drawn to children, and children like evil." Like, all right, Rick, now we get it, fool. You lost custody, dog. Relax. They go to this school orphanage thing, and the kids are just like sitting at attention in classroom at like midnight. It's fucking late as shit.
Yeah.
Just staring at a chalkboard. And she's like, well, I think those kids are possessed. Let's go inside and figure out what's going on. He's like, we got to find the demon. I think the demon's here. And I think this whole sequence is pretty interesting because the children are all possessed and like they never tried to attack the people.
Yeah, they're pretty chill for being like possessed demons.
I mean, for now.
For now,
for
yeah.
now.
But like all the introductions to these demons in the later part of the movie, they're all like really mellow. It's not like the aggressive like we're gonna immediately murder you on sight. It isn't
True.
until there's like a shift in the movie that we talk about later that it gets back to being like aggressive demon.
Well, I wonder it's because they're following the rules. Like
Yeah,
they don't
probably.
seem very scared.
Yeah.
They're not using electricity because remember they use the flashlight. She's like, we got to cut it out. No more electricity.
Yeah.
Like they seem to be following the rules up until this point. They're not harming the demon. They're not saying its name. They're just like, oh, they're there. All right. She's like, well, let's go figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And this is where the little boy on the bike comes and tells him like, oh, you could find Yedial. What's he telling him? He's like, the teachers were helping him and he's like down the street at a clinic or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then
somewhere else.
Yeah. Then another little girl's like, no, he's lying. He's at my parents' house. He took over my father. He's at my house. You have to go help them. And then that's when Mita's like, nah, fuck these kids. They're lying. The fucking demon's here. They're trying to, when they're telling us to go somewhere else, it's here. And she's like, I can fucking smell him.
And fucking, and Pedro, when this little girl is like yelling at him, he flips and he just hits this little girl with the car door
right now. Oh, fucking
the shit out of her.
Yeah, for no reason.
And then he's like beating her.
Good cop, bad cop, dude. For real, getting hit with the fucking truck door, bro. Like, fuck.
And
That
then
would be all kinds of painful.
the Mirta, when they go into the class, she like starts getting all not like gaggy and like wants to throw up, and she's like, "You didn't smell the breath of the kids?"
That's right. He's like, they smell horrible. Like, and he's like, no, you didn't smell them.
Which is crazy because Pedro didn't really have a reaction to Uriel when they first walked into the house, and then he didn't have a reaction to the kid's breath. So like, is he smell blind?
That's
Maybe
a good
he has
question. Oh, maybe.
He's been smoking so many cigarettes that he is probably nose blind.
Desensitized.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe, huh?
Yeah.
Well, because like, it doesn't really explain it, but we'll see with Pedro at the end. Like, maybe he's special in some way, or he's different. Because they figure out she's like, all right, the demon's here, and they think that it's in the auditorium because there's like a bunch of like looks like little handprints all over the like drapes of the auditorium. Yeah, the stage.
Yeah.
And they find like a hammer, and he could tell he's like, oh, the boards here are kind of loose. So they unloosen the boards on the stage, and there's just, all the teachers are in there. They're just dead. And I guess they put lye. Yeah, they put lye on the bodies to help with the stench. And then she's like, oh, the demon's in there. And they start like moving the bodies around. And you could see, and she's like, oh, I see him. He's in there. She's like, all right, cool. He's like, go to the car, get my equipment, and we'll take care of this. She's like, but don't run. And then he like starts hurrying. She's like, what did I say? Don't run. He's like, oh shit, my bad. So he doesn't run, and the demons don't fuck with him because I guess if you follow the rules, you're safe.
Yeah.
He gets her shit. They're like setting it up, and it looks like it's like a spear on like a tripod kind of thing. It's
like
an interesting looking weapon.
Astronomer tool.
Yeah, it's like a telescope with a knife at the end.
Yeah. With a perfect angle.
And then, so they're trying to get it out. And I was like, dude, I kept thinking in my mind, I was like, all right, if Pedro pulls this dude out when it took 3 people to load him into the truck, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But he can't do it. So thankfully, they stood within script or whatever. And he's like, all right. He's like, I can't lift him. He's too heavy. Listen, the little girl that he fucking door bashed comes up to him. And she's like, there's an axe. There's an axe in the room over there. Because because he's like, I gotta take the stage apart. She's like, all right, do it. And he's like, oh, I can't do it with this hammer. I need to get the axe. And she's like, don't listen to the little girl. If you leave me, these kids are going to kill me. And he's like, I trust her. I'm gonna go get the axe. Bad
So
move.
dumb.
I don't know why he does that. They immediately lock him in the room and just fucking beat Mirta to death. They just kill her real quick and then destroy her
Cool.
like demon killing weapon.
Yeah, the scene was pretty crazy too. It's just another one of those like I don't know, graphic scenes because they show one of the little girls hitting Mirta in the head with a hammer. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not like she's continuously bashing. She's like hit once, wait a little, hit another time, wait a little, hit another time, and each time you hear
Hear the
the
impact.
crunch and yeah, it's pretty brutal. They flipped it. They made the kid kill the adult.
Even when they're dragging her body away, she's like running, jogging up to her and just like hits her again for
Yeah.
good measure. I
Yeah,
wonder if
it's
they
pretty
kill
crazy.
her now because she's becomes fearful.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She broke the seventh rule. She said out loud, "If you leave, these kids are gonna kill me."
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's weird.
Can't break
And
the
then
rules, bro.
and then Pedro fucking breaks out like really easily. I don't know how he didn't do it faster. And then Uriel stands up and you see his head poking out of the stage. It's like peekaboo.
That was a crazy scene.
That was fucking weird. I was like, could this
I was
fool
like,
walk the whole
whoa.
time?
He's just poking his head out, all creepy. You only
Like,
see him
what's
from
up,
like,
Pedro? And then he starts taunting him, and Pedro's just frustrated. Looks like he loses hope. And he just bashes his head in with the telescope.
yep.
And then a child is born out of the body of Uriel. Because it turns out he was pregnant the whole time. And the child comes out like covered in blood and like walks up to Pedro, who's like kneeling down, like all defeated. And he rubs with 3 fingers on his forehead and like
Yeah.
puts a blood stain of 3 fingers on his forehead. And then we see this newly born demon walking into the fields outside of the school with the children. And it's the same kind of a similar shot that they did with Pedro and Jimmy and the dogs, but now with the kids.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like they unleashed like the Antichrist or something onto the world, a demon and like a strong host. I don't know what that guy's supposed to represent. But Pedro's like, well, fuck it. I guess we lost. Just gonna go home. He goes back to his house. Jimmy's there with Yair, and the other kid never left. The one that they let stay in the barn. And then that's when he admits to them, like, yeah, I ate my mom and I killed the cleaner. The demon got into my head and I couldn't stop it. And he's like all sad about it. And Jimmy's like, well, that's kind of fucked up. And then it switches to Pedro talking to
Well, and then
Yair.
the little kid says something else. He because Jaime was like, well, and what happened to my mom? And he was like, the same thing that happened to my mom.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because they couldn't find. That's right. That's right. Because he goes back to the house and his mom's not there.
Yeah.
And you see this part's gross. Fucking it starts like he's back to being like regular autistic, and he's like coughing and shit. And then Pedro just starts pulling like hair and blood and shit out of his mouth, and then he pulls out the mom's necklace. And he's like, oh, he's like freaking out. And he just goes outside and he just starts crying. And he still has that mark on his forehead. And he's like trying to rub it off, but he can't get it off. It's like stained his fucking head permanently.
Yeah.
And he just collapses to the ground crying because his son was possessed and ate his mother. And then that's how the movie ends with him just yelling.
Do you think he killed Yair? That's why he was so emotional.
I I think ooh, that's a good question. I didn't think about it at the time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that
Maybe.
either.
I mean, he probably had to. You don't want to just be living with a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good question. Yeah, he must have killed his son.
his whole family's gone except for his
Mhm.
brother.
What did you guys think of the last like? Because this all happens like in 15 minutes. The last like
Yeah.
15 minutes of the movie are fucking crazy. What did you think that represented the like demon being born?
Just exactly that. that a demon was released. Like a because isn't that the whole thing about a demon? Like they need to be like the most powerful ones need to be born. Like
Mm-hmm.
they start as kids.
Yeah, like the Omen.
Yeah. So
I thought
yeah.
that was crazy too, because Mitra even says she's like, "Oh, all this crazy shit that's happens. This is like the gestation period. This is like the demon is like on the verge of being born, but so like the evil's leaking out, but it's not born yet. It's
Hmm.
like, damn, this is the chill shit. Like, how bad is it when it's born?
Yeah. I'd like
Yeah.
to see a movie the aftermath. The you know what the little kid turns into. That'll be cool.
That'd be crazy. Because even Mirta was like, I don't know if I can take this guy on, dude. This is way more crazy than anything I'd faced in the past.
Yeah.
I mean,
Advanced demons.
she failed because Pedro ended up being unreliable at the end.
Yeah, that was a pretty bonehead move. Low IQ.
That was pretty dumb. Because it just seems so out of character for everything he had been doing up until this point for him to just falter at the very end. I was like, that's weird. Like he hadn't made any mistakes yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the last ending was crazy. And then yeah, he had eating the mom was fucked.
Dude.
Just this movie escalates and it just keeps escalating. Even though there's like a lull, but you get so much exposition that it doesn't really feel like that much of a lull. And then it immediately
Yeah.
goes back into being the wild ride that it was.
And I don't even mind the lulls because every scene where shit pops off, it pops off so insanely crazy that like those lulls are kind of like a nice like palate cleanse.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Cause like you just see some like visceral, like crazy imagery. Yeah, this is one of the crazier horror movies I've seen in a while.
Did you watch it by yourself?
Yeah, I watched it by myself.
Okay.
It was it was sick. One of the more unique takes on a possession story that I've seen.
Yeah. You guys definitely need to check out Terrified after watching this one.
Okay. Did that one come out after this one? Is like his next movie?
I'm not too sure. Um, but it's just another one of those really good movies.
Because I guess he got the funding for this movie because like he participated like in a contest.
Oh
So he
shit.
submitted this like film idea, or I don't know if he submitted like a rough clip or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, this is cool," so it won. So that's what he got funding to do it.
Nice. Yeah, so Terrified came out in 2017.
Oh, okay, so it is way
It was
before this one.
before. Yeah.
This movie made 2.1 mil, and its
Nice.
theatrical run. And then I know it came to like Shutter pretty quickly, so I don't know how much it made. There wasn't a lot of interesting facts or like trivia for this one.
Yeah.
I know the director said he got the idea from the local community that he was in. A bunch of people were getting sick from pesticides, and it would kind of spread, and that's how he got the idea for like the demon evil possession thing spreading, which I think was pretty cool.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I guess the ending of the story is reminiscent of the biblical story of Cain and Abel, where I think it's Abel. So Abel bashes Cain's head in with a stick. I think it's a stick, or is it a bone? A lot of people
It's like
get
a
bashed.
femur,
Femur,
right?
right?
Yeah.
And then he's left to mark the world with a left to walk the world with a mark on his forehead, and that's the same thing that happens to Pedro.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. You guys got any interesting facts? Or should we just hop into our reviews?
I couldn't find any.
I couldn't find any either.
It's very limited, but I mean, that's cool. It's just take it as it is.
That was an
Maybe-
enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you start us off, Twan, since you this is your second viewing. I'm curious.
All right. Yeah, I gave this movie an A. Uh, talk about a wild ride of a film. It just like keeps escalating and escalating and almost like one upping itself throughout the movie. The attention to detail that Damian or I don't know what his name is had in this movie, like when it came to like the dialogue and just the world building itself was great. Definitely wasn't expected when I first saw this movie. I wasn't expecting like this in-depth story to take place. I thought it was just going to be another crazy gory movie. Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise, and it was graphic, it was gory, it was a mind fuck. It was shocking. So many emotions were had during the viewing of this film, and it was a great film to come out of Argentina. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more of movies from this director because yeah, like I said, Terrified and this movie were both really fucking good. And I apologize for my previous statement saying both of these movies were Spanish movies from Spain. I am so sorry. I Yeah, I fucked up, but these are Argentinian movies and so good. Just so good. So yeah, A.
Fuck yeah. All right. Before we move on to the next two reviews, I should mention. So Rotten Tomatoes has this at a 96%. So out of the
Ooh.
four horror movies we have covered so far, this one is the highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes. And IMDb has it at a 6.9. So
Okay.
Saya, why don't you take it away?
Give this movie an A as well. It surprised me, but it also didn't. I had a feeling that this was going to be a good movie. And my gut didn't lie. This was actually a really good movie. I like foreign horror. I feel like foreign horror gives you like a peek at shit that's kind of, I don't want to say happening around the world, but again, I think going back and I always say like horror is a reflection of the society that creates it. And so this is like a nice peek into what scares people like in other countries, and violence against children is a huge thing in this, and we see it in the movie. I think this is also the first time where we see like a, like you mentioned, Dale, the demon possession, but kind of like as a virus and like a sickness that infects stuff, and I think that concept is really cool. I'd love to see this build out into like more of a world, but I think that's just my like my Marvel cinematic universe brain talking, where everything should be connected. I think as a standalone, this is like a really sick movie. The visual effects that they did were really awesome. The sound design that they did was really awesome. The shots that they got in here were really cool too. They think they did some like drone shots and shit like that. Just overall, really good movie, like visually. I think story wise, it was really cool. There was a couple of decisions that were made that were kind of like, why would you do that after everything that's happened, or after listening to all the rules and knowing the rules? Like, why would you break a rule? But it's okay. I think I'm willing to overlook all of that because I think in general, like it was such a good ride, and I was so surprised at the different things that happened. Like I audibly yelled at multiple points because I was just in fucking shock as to what I was seeing. So this was a really cool movie. I'd recommend this movie if you're looking for like a new horror. Check it out. Be warned, it is pretty gruesome and there's definitely violence against children. So if you're not cool with that, then don't watch it. But if you're down for some really wild, freaky shit from Argentina, check this shit out.
Nice. All right, I'll finish this off. So I also gave this movie an A. This, I think, out of our Halloween bonanza, I could already say because we've already watched the movie we're going to cover next week. This has actually surprisingly been my favorite movie that we've seen out of the four. Maybe because I had seen the thing Texas Chainsaw and Hereditary beforehand, so I kind of knew what to expect. But this movie was such a pleasant surprise, and I like. I don't know if the director did this on purpose or his intention, but the way, like I said in the beginning, it takes from like kind of little tidbits of Hereditary and a little bit of It Follows and kind of makes this, like, in my opinion, I've never seen this before, like unique take on like the possession demon story movie, and did it in such a fresh and interesting way that I thought was really cool. Like Isaiah said, like I like horror films. I mean, I like foreign films quite a bit. Not necessarily horror in general, just foreign films in general, because I feel like they give a different world perspective and a different perspective on a genre that is usually portrayed a certain way here in the States. So seeing it like how an Argentinian sees demon possession or his idea of what that would be was so cool. It was such a good movie. It was very fresh. The story was awesome. The amount of world building that they managed to do. I mean, the movie's like what, an hour and 37
40?
minutes.
Yeah.
It's not a very long movie, but they managed to pack in a lot of information and to craft a story in that time that is pretty easy to follow, makes sense within their own worldview. As I mentioned earlier, and as I had mentioned, yeah, there were some moments in the movie where I'm like, I was kind of dumb. That kind of took me out of it a little bit, but at the same time, I felt like everything else was just so good, so fresh, so unique that I was like, oh, this movie's great. It's hard not to give it an A. I really enjoyed this movie. I highly recommend it. If you like foreign films and you like horror, this is definitely a must watch. Try and squeeze this one in your holiday. It's on Shutter, so if you guys have Shutter, check it out, or do a week free and see some of the good stuff. As we said earlier, we were talking about VHS Beyond, which is also on there. That's another good Shutter film, and Interview with the Devil. So they've been crushing it, and this movie is excellent. So that's an A from me. So I think Rotten Tomatoes hit it on the head with the 96. It's a great movie. All right, well, to wrap it all up, next week we will be the finalizing our Halloween bonanza. We will be opening up the vault. Well, not really. Well, we're not going to release that audio because it's terrible. But we're going to re-review. We're going to do a rewatch of what should have been our inaugural episode of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So we've seen this movie. Like, I think we tried to cover this movie like twice already for the pod, and it didn't work out. So third time's the charm.
Yep.
But we've kind of got it figured out a little bit now, more so now than we did than when we started back in May. So we will be covering that infamous. Oh, we started in April on 420.
420.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's right. So stay tuned for that. So Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Just
Excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to give it another watch. I am hard on that movie. I do say it's a lot worse than I actually think it is. I don't think it's like I've seen movies. We've covered movies that I think are worse than that movie already on the pod. But
yeah, fuck Repo Man.
This is how we get you to rate Halloween Season of the Witch higher. We just show you worse movies. So now when you watch this movie, you're going to be like, you know what? Matt and Twan were right.
I don't know, because everything we watched in the past 4 weeks have all been A's.
Banger
like, so, I don't know.
banger.
You're falling on up. It's like,
yeah,
this might be my first A+ movie.
I felt like I just ate at like Nobu, and then you're like, oh, you want to get some fucking some California rolls from 7-Eleven? Like, not really.
Oh shit.
Ready though. My body's ready.
Yeah, it should be fun. It's a silly film.
It's the perfect Halloween movie.
It's a film about
Halloween.
racism towards the Irish community, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Little sneak peek for next week. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us this week. Appreciate you guys coming by. If you guys want to help support the pod and donate, you can click the donation link at the end of each episode. All donations go to helping us produce the pod and paying for the various programs we use to make everything work. But if you can't donate, that's totally cool with us. We love making the pod. We love joining you guys every week and talking about movies. If you haven't done so already, give us a follow on our social medias. We are on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X/Twitter, and Threads. As always, I have been your host, The Dale, followed by my two co-hosts, Mr. Saya.
Adios, friends.
And Twan.
Dead bodies can get goosebumps.
Bye.
Bye.